I'm ready.
Born ready. Set our timer here. Turn my phone off, or at least on Do Not Disturb, because I don't want to be disturbed.
It's the last one in the series.
It is.
It's like 2 months later.
Hello, Internet.
Hello, Internet.
Is it 2 months?
It's been almost 2 months since we started this specific... It's been like 6 since we started the channel.
You're right.
6 or 7.
Internet. We're back in the strength stoa.
Mm-hmm.
We are wrapping up securing your stoa with...
Preparedness.
He can finally say it.
I speak English.
He can finally say it. It only took a few months.
Only.
You're doing great, dude.
Yeah. So, again, we had laid out in our very first Securing Your Stoa video some principles that we're going to cover in preparedness. We kept at the very end. Mostly because it is, of all the things, I'm not going to say it's an afterthought, but I think it's the last thing that probably you end up working on. If you've got everything else squared away, this is now planning for the future. And a lot of this is planning for the future. We're going to still have a bunch of interviews that we're going to do within the Securing Your Stoa series, but we kind of wanted to get all of our principles video out of the way. And then we're going to, again, bring in security experts, financial experts.
It won't just be us talking.
Yeah, because we're not experts on everything. As we always say, nobody's an expert on everything. But you can pick people that have really educated themselves on these topics. So, kind of and we make bullet points like we do for all of these, our very, very, very first primo number one most important thing about preparedness is that if you cannot take care of yourself, someone is going to have to take care of you. And that cannot be understated when you're talking about this specific subject matter. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people will make all of these plans that sound cool or sexy or seem important, but ultimately, if you haven't secured any of the other things, as far as, again, mental wellness and fitness, which is what we just did, your residence, your well-being, your finances, all that stuff, none of this matters. You shouldn't even be having this conversation because you have bigger fish to fry right now.
I don't even think people really make a plan anymore.
No.
Like, I think being prepared is almost looked at as, like, taboo at this point. Like,
well, it was.
Until.
It was.
It was until a couple weeks ago, depending on when this video comes out.
Yeah.
If you lived in Texas, you realized how probably very unprepared you were for some freezing temperatures, a few, 4 to 5 inches of snow?
Yeah, ice.
And then a lot of ice.
Yeah.
A lot of ice.
So
I'm as guilty as anybody, though.
Sure.
Like, there's some things I'm about to change.
Yeah. So, in adversity, what is it? Adversity is the mother of invention or whatever. I don't know. There's a quote there somewhere there. I'm sure I'll insert quote somewhere. But ultimately, all of the things we had talked about prior to this are like your day-to-day. These are things that are going to affect you every moment of every day of every waking moment of your existence. Preparedness is the reason why we separated this from everything else. To prepare for the future is different. You're mortgaging for future events, which none of us have, a glass ball or crystal ball.
Magic 8 ball, shake it, ask it questions.
That are going to let you know what's going to happen tomorrow. Clearly,
don't listen to your horoscope either.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to help you.
Please don't. But you have to plan and prepare for bad things to happen because they will. A lot of people like to inset Murphy's Law. Everything that can happen will happen. Or
like your power goes out.
Yeah.
For 3-4 days. And then your water's no good.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's 0 degrees outside.
Yeah.
And your house gets really cold.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed?
Yeah. So it's the reason we're bringing it up, and we've either learned this the hard way, and collectively, again, him and I were in Texas. We still had to go to work. We still had a lot of really crappy circumstances.
Yes.
But, these things happen all the time. We're privileged to live in a country and in a place where we're pretty stable environment. I'm not worried about The raiders coming over the mountain to come pillage my village or anything crazy like that.
That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
It'd be kind of wild. They'd pick the wrong one.
Maybe not cool.
Yeah. But
you picked the wrong village.
They picked the wrong village. Again, and if they were Stoics and they were ready and prepared, they would have picked the wrong village to go do that with. But I think that a lot of people take for granted their circumstances, whether it's, financial, heck, from a relationship standpoint. There's a lot of these the aspects of your day-to-day life that you say, well, it was like this today, so it's going to be like that tomorrow. Ask hedge fund managers how they felt about GameStop stock. It's just nothing's a given. Nothing's a given. It's why it's why they play the game, as they always say, is anything can happen.
Yeah.
And we're not making this video to try to make people paranoid or to try to say that the sky is falling and all
not
that.
Not paranoid, just to raise your level of awareness.
But I think that, and again, to be self-aware enough to realize these are things I'm probably not ready to deal with. You do not have to be ready for everything. You cannot be ready for everything, let's be honest. Because part of being prepared is also being prepared in case the things you prepared have failed. Because it will happen.
But look at the last 12 months.
Yeah.
No one can see into the future, but who would have told you in March of last year that we were just going to have the year that we had?
Yeah.
And then, yes, Texas had some unavoidable weather circumstances that showed some of us our physical security may not be up to par. Heck, maybe, your fitness and wellness security wasn't up to par dealing with this kind of weather either. Yeah. We see it firsthand every day in the job that we do. We only get called when people need us to come solve their problem.
Wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. You could cut ties with all the lies that you've been living in. And if you never want to see me again, I would understand.
And if you're not prepared for a certain problem to happen,
it's our problem.
You have to call someone to come solve it for you.
If it's not their problem, it's our problem.
Yeah. I mean, you brought up a good point about what do you do when you get sick? Well, me, I just lay in bed because I'm dumb. A lot of people will go to the doctor or seek medical professionals and get their opinion and treatment and all that stuff. That's not really what we're talking about.
No.
That's something that's kind of out of your control, and unless you went to med school or have some kind of medical training, you need a professional to help you deal with that. There's no real way to prepare for that.
Yeah, and I'm not even also saying be ready to go, run halfway across your state, scale a mountain and go kill a tiger with your bare hands.
There are a lot of tigers in Texas.
Yeah, but and as cool a person as you would be if you could do that, it's kind of, we understand it's kind of impractical. I'm not prepared to do that.
I'm probably halfway there.
Yeah, he goes, I'm on my way.
That's my new training style.
Halfway across the state, which in Texas you played yourself.
Good luck.
Yeah. But I think that there is something to be said in putting yourself in a constant state of readiness. And I think as a Stoic, and really bringing it back to the principles, is almost one of the most low-hanging fruit within this mindset is that, if I am emotionally and physically and psychologically prepared for the worst-case scenario, it doesn't affect me as much.
That's a huge help.
Yeah.
Too. Getting your mental aspect prepared is probably more than half the battle, because if you can mentally get past that roadblock of something bad might happen to me, then when something bad happens you're like, well, kind of figured this was coming sooner or later.
Well
and then if you're prepared and you have a high level of preparedness, you have a plan for bad things that happen.
Yeah. And
I think that's kind of the whole Secure Your Stoa series, is to help you build out your own plan.
And there's I was talking to my wife about this the other day about trust, and if you're doing a good job in a relationship, you are not having to lean on that trust if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing within a relationship. Stoicism's the same way. Yes, ultimately, as a philosophical perspective, you should steel your mind for adversity. You should steel your mind for this. But if you're prepared for these things, you don't have to exercise said Stoic mindset. You don't have to think, oh, I got to really dig deep for this to work out. No. If I know that I'm going to have to go move 10,000 pounds of rocks from point A to point B, there's that one guy that's like getting his wheelbarrow ready and putting his gloves on and eating a good breakfast that morning. And then there's the guy that brings the forklift, puts said pallet of rocks in his truck, and then drives said truck, and then takes the forklift and drops it off. And again, part of this is, he had the privilege of having these things set up for him or the situation that he could have that. But he's not as worried about that task as the other person is. They might both be as equally ready for it, but one guy's clearly not having to exercise his Stoic mindset in turning the truck on and moving the forklift.
What if the other guy chose to do it because it sounds like a killer workout?
Sure. And again, that's his choice in this matter. But I think that if you're trying to put yourself in a state of preparedness and you're trying to put yourself in a constant state of readiness, you need to think that bad things are going to happen. Whether it's going to be, with your family or, from a relationship standpoint, from a, physical standpoint, weather, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think the big thing that we kind of talked about before turning the camera on was none of this is going to happen. None of the other things are going to happen.
Yeah.
None of your outside life is going to be prepared until you prepare yourself for anything to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not working on yourself, your self-awareness, your mental stability if something were to go wrong, your ability to control your emotions when things don't go planned or how you thought, or, even if you just end up in a bad situation, if you let your emotions control that bad situation, you're not prepared for it. And you won't be prepared for any outcome of it, really.
Mm-hmm. It could work out, and you just be so trapped by the traumatic event of something wrong happening that you're stuck in that. And that cycle then hampers you from being prepared for the next thing that's kind of coming. One of the things that, and I'm doing these slightly out of order, is realizing that most of, being prepared is a team process. There's John Level, he's from the Warrior Poet Society, talked about playing zone. He and his organization tries to really propagate this idea of preparedness, whether it's, that they have a sheepdog response, the same thing.
Yep.
That they're like, hey, you as an individual can empower yourself to be ready for XYZ situation, whether it's your car breaking down in the middle of nowhere or, riots in the streets or something crazy like that. Like, how do I take back some of this control as opposed to being, it's not a in a tsunami, what are you going to do? That's a hand of God kind of thing. Well, I might as well just, be right with whatever God I have and be good with it and hope I can get myself to a safe place. But when there's tangible things, and again, the Stoic mindset fits that. What am I going to do to panic? That's not going to help me. Let's think and see what I can do. But
panic is only going to make things worse.
Yeah, and if I'm in a situation, or if I can put myself in a situation where I can be ready for this eventuality, can I go and propagate this idea to other people? Or like he was saying, play zone. My idea is that in this area, I can be helpful to, and this could be in the smallest of ways. I watched somebody that they had, they kept chopsticks with them. An extra pair of chopsticks for lunch. They had somebody that didn't have any utensils. That's something small, or having a pen, or having anything. It sounds simple and silly, but it's like, oh, hey, I have this thing. I was prepared for the eventuality to have to write something down. I have a pen. I can give it to somebody for them to be helped, or a spare mask.
I'd still be screwed if I had to eat with chopsticks.
Yeah, I can do it.
I'd stab it.
Yeah, we'll
stab my food.
This is hey, we'll expand on our.
Or I have 2 hands.
I have 2 hands. Yeah, while you're at work, after you get done dealing with someone.
I have hand sanitizer. Post 2020, I'm ready.
I'm ready. You're prepared.
I'm prepared.
So but like ultimately, like you cannot be doing these things by yourself. And to say that you're gonna, and anyone that's into like prepping and all that kind of stuff will tell you, You're not going to lone wolf a situation. You are not the protagonist of some film.
It takes a village.
Yeah, it does. I think to survive, especially bad stuff. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to not put enough gas in your car. It's one thing to not charge your phone at night. It's something altogether different when you have... I'll talk about my personal experience. I had, this was in 2015. My house got smacked by I grew up in this house, got smacked by a tornado. And I just graduated college, and I was there with my family. And everything that we owned was then reduced to what we had in our car. We were lucky we were out of town. It could have been way worse. We could have all died in that house. But for that week, until insurance got sorted out and all that stuff, we were homeless. And we didn't have anything. We had literally nothing. And we leaned super hard on, we had a friend of ours that let us sleep in her house. We had people, I have taken clothes donations. Within this last decade, I literally had no clothes. I couldn't wash my clothes fast enough, and someone was like, hey, this jacket will fit you. And I was not too proud to take that because I realized in my situation, I kind of need this. I'm over here.
Yeah, it was what, raining?
Yeah, it was
40 degrees?
It was awful. And I sat there and I was not too proud to take that. And I had people that came out and said, I'm not going to ask you if you need help. This is what I'm doing for you. You're going to take it. And I was fortunate and I was blessed in that situation that we had a network of friends in that area. And it was the craziest. I had Chick-fil-A on a Sunday. It was the craziest experience I ever had in my life. Whoever it was that was a manager at that Chick-fil-A sent some poor little 16-year-old kid in awful weather. He slung a little, basically chicken sandwich bag over him. He had like 50 chicken sandwiches. This guy walked probably a mile through a tornado-destroyed, neighborhood, and he's like, "Hey, is anyone hungry?" Here's a hick. Yeah, I'm gonna say no chicken sandwich. I'm starving, But I did this. My village came out and took care of me and my family in that time. It was the most humbling experience I'd ever had in my life. I was a homeless person for the better part of a week. And my situation was great comparatively, because what if we didn't have the car? What if it didn't have insurance? What if, my house burns down, I don't have anything, and I have nothing prepared. And now I'm homeless in the streets for months. And I don't have people that help me. And I don't have anyone that cares about me. We see this all the time at work.
Every day.
These people have zero support system, and the smallest things are now mountains. Mm-hmm. Finding clean water, finding food, finding shelter are now huge endeavors. And so anytime that you can put barriers between yourself and that, it's a good thing. And anytime that you can help empower other people to have that same level of preparedness, it's a good thing. And I think it's very underplayed. A lot of people are looking for, how does, this political party help me with my problems? Or how does this,
there's your first mistake.
Yeah, it's just you're
if you think that a political party is going to help you with your problems.
For anything. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care.
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. This is a self journey. A self-enduring journey.
Well, and really everything happens on this micro level. There's a macro level where it can kind of help you to an extent, but once you get past that, no one's coming to help you. FEMA didn't come to help my family when we were there. That's not a dig on FEMA, but it was my neighbors. I had some guy come over with the chainsaw, hey, do you want to get your family keepsakes out of this house? It was complete strangers helping me dig through rubble. And I'm not mad at anyone that didn't help me. It's not their job to help me. But my neighbors found it in their heart to go do that, and we had a great environment for that. And if as a person that's worked on all these things and gotten better with themselves and they have their stuff sorted out, who are you to not want to propagate that idea? And again, it's the whole reason why we're doing this series in the first place, is that we've had personal journeys that have got us to where we're at. And we're not done, but I'm like, hey, let's take some people with me. Let's have some people have that positive, experience and be more secure and be more prepared and be more stoic when it comes to the adversity that we can't avoid. It's going to come for you no matter what. Again, we had a pretty rude awakening with this past week.
Yeah.
I was lucky. My power flickered every once in a while.
Mine did not. It was off for 3 days.
Yeah.
And I would have wrote it out, and I would have just wore 17 layers and stayed in bed and had 5 blankets and just gotten through it. But something that we haven't talked about yet is being prepared to take care of yourself plus other people, or in my case, my dogs.
Yep.
I understand that my dogs have fur and they probably would have been fine. even though my house got super cold a couple nights. But I was not going to risk my dog's safety just to try and ride this out and be too proud to ask for help, because my dog can't tell me if they're too cold. My dog can't tell me if something's going on like another person can.
Yeah.
And they rely on me for their life. So we went and stayed with some family members who luckily had electricity and running water and all of the fine, nice amenities of life. I saw a video, I don't know if you saw it, I don't know if you follow the page. There was a crash in Houston a couple days ago. It looked like they might have been street racing on a frontage road or something. And one of the cars lost control and hit another car, sent that car into the crowd.
Oof.
And I think 3 people died. And it was almost surprising, with our job not surprising,
That's...
but fairly disgusting that all the videos you saw were just people with their cell phones out.
Yeah.
Like there was I assume he was already dead laying in the street, but no one helped this man laying in the street after he just got hit by a car. All they wanted to do was stick their little cell phone in his face. And it just makes me wonder, like, where we're heading as far as a preparedness standing.
Sure.
If something bad were to happen, like
Like,
another tornado.
Yeah, sure.
And people get hurt.
It's, look, if you don't know CPR and you don't know any medical things, you can still call 911. You can still be clearing the roadway for actual emergency services to get there. You can still, at the very minimum, start clearing out the crowd or giving this guy space, or just at least looking at him to see, like, hey, is this guy doing okay? Ask him if he's doing okay. Try to, so at least you can be, I don't know, a good witness or whatever.
Hey, if you don't know those things, maybe ask the crowd of people that's there.
Anybody a nurse?
Do you know CPR? Do you know any medical, medical trauma training, anything like that? But this whole, it made me kind of sad to, like, see the videos of all these people with just their cell phones out.
Sure.
And I was like, that man's probably dead.
Yeah.
Probably.
And it was, and any chance that he had of surviving?
Was now gone.
Died behind a cell phone.
Exactly.
Yeah. And and again, about trying to make sure that you can take care of other people, like
it's not hard to go get some pretty simple training, medical training. Pretty simple, like, hey, how about I make sure this person just doesn't move? Like, maybe they have a spinal injury.
Yeah.
Or, hey, let me see if they're breathing.
Yeah.
Check their pulse. Learn CPR. I mean, when I worked for Costco, I had to do CPR training every 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
It was an 8-hour day. I'm sure some of you spend more than 8 hours watching Netflix in a day. So you could easily go get CPR certified.
I think we might even do a CPR video. I might find something.
There you go.
But I think everybody should at least try to empower themselves to be helpful in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Even if it's something small. Like I said, if it's keeping pens on you, if it's learning CPR, if it's realizing, hey, head injuries are this way. You can get good on the list of, like...
or using your cell phone to call 911 instead of recording.
Instead of recording the guy. There's a lot to be said about how you not just take care of yourself, but put that responsibility on yourself to want to take care of others. I think the more prepared you are, and the more able you are, and the more, whether it's blessed or by your hard work, in a good situation you are, you should want to help others. And I will go out and shame anybody that doesn't have all this huge level of readiness and isn't trying to do something for other people. Whether these people deserve it or not, it's not the case. It's just these are human beings, or even dogs, that simply need help. These people need help, and you've, again, done all the hard work of making sure that you're a good Stoic, and you got your house situated, nobody can kick your front door, or whatever.
We have a video for that.
Yeah, but like, what is it all for if it's not to help somebody? What is it all for if it's not in the moment when it's important that you're not readying yourself for that?
And even if you don't think it's important, imagine if you changed your mindset, and then one other person changed their mindset, and then one other person changed their mindset.
Yeah.
It would be a widespread thing. And then you're looking at a much more prepared society, as opposed to just a few random people throughout the population who kind of have their stuff together.
You don't have voyeurs. You have actors. You have people that are going out there and doing stuff. If everyone made sure that their mailbox wasn't blocked by something and just shoveled just their sidewalk full of debris, how much you think mail people would appreciate that? Your mail would get delivered more efficiently. People would be happier with giving your mails. They're probably not tossing that stuff. You know, there's this crazy exponential effect that you have on the world around you when you're able. And again, we'll hammer this probably every other video about how important it is that the way that you act in this world is important. The way that you treat other people is important. And a lot of that is being self-aware and being stoic and not allowing yourself to get so caught up in yourself and your own issues that you're not available to help other people. And you're not available, especially if these people are less fortunate than you, especially if these people haven't had the benefit that you've had to find places like this or come from a place of higher learning and all that stuff. Instead of being worried about what's wrong in this world, worry about fixing it. Or preparing yourself for those eventualities. And I think that, I don't know, it's super... I could talk for hours about that. That's something I get real fired up about that.
Well, we see it probably more than most.
And I think a lot of people, if you're in, again, the first responder community, or you're a nurse, or you're a doctor, or even if you're like a mental health professional, any of these types of jobs where it's... customer service, any of that stuff where you're having to deal with someone else's issues. We spend half our time thinking about, like, if you applied any level of effort to this, you wouldn't be calling me. And the 10 people that probably legitimately need me aren't getting me right now and are having to deal with your issue because you did nothing. It feels like intentionally did nothing to prepare yourself for this.
Well, some people even say, no, I didn't want to, so I called so-and-so.
Yep.
That's crazy.
God, nothing enrages me more than that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. And it's, again, they're just ruining my day, you know, and it's a...
No.
Yeah, no.
Just making us sharpen our stoic mindset. Not ruining our
You're
day.
taxing my stoic mindset.
Yes. My stoic battery has gone down a notch.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just think that there's a big encompass. That's why we left this thing for last. There's a big encompassing idea behind why it's important to be prepared for these things and to secure your stoa and to work on your fitness and your wellness and your finances. You put energy and effort into these things so they don't end up biting you at the end of the day. And
we're not telling you to go get some dynamite, blow a hole in the ground, build a concrete bunker. Fill it with food and water and everything that you could possibly think of. It's scalable.
Yeah.
Everything about being prepared is scalable. You can do what you can do with the resources that you have to make yourself more prepared today than you were yesterday. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have any resources right now, work on your mindset. It's free.
Yep.
Working on your mindset and your ability to act and overcome and react well and control your emotions well, it's all free.
Well, and when the opportunity comes that you're put in a place that you can do some level of preparing, you're ready for it.
Right.
You're already thinking about it.
You're past the mental side of things.
Oh.
Timer.
We're resetting.
We are resetting.
I'll give this one a jingle.
You're going to give us a jingle? I'm ready. Really? I like it.
We should be back.
I like it. Let's reset this guy. Okay. We're back after our little intermission jingle here from Josh.
That's pretty terrible, but it's good.
I liked it. I liked it a lot, actually. It recharged my stoic battery.
So, kind of just some, and again, it could be, I like that you said it was scalable, and I think you need to be doing it within your means. Don't go and make yourself broke preparing for stuff that's probably not going to happen within this decade, or not going to happen tomorrow. But, don't discount that it might, because it can.
Well, realistically, there's things you need to do before you go get a bunker.
Yeah.
There's things you need to do before...
A few things.
Yeah,
that you need to do before you're going straight, but.
There's nothing wrong with having a little extra dry food, having a little extra canned food, having, food that lasts more than a week There's nothing wrong with keeping water on hand. Look at the last couple weeks in Texas.
Yeah.
I think pretty much every county in North Texas had a boil notice for their water. Now, it was just an advisory. We don't know, there's no telling how much level of bacteria was in the water or whatnot.
Sure.
Are you going to risk it? You're going to drink the water and get sick?
Who's poor?
Probably not very preparedness of you.
But
having a little extra water, having a little extra food.
it's always a good idea.
Having a plan if the power goes out for more than an hour. Don't rely on your refrigerator. Because I can tell you from personal experience, that sucker is going to get warm in about 4 hours.
Yeah.
And then all of your refrigerated food is no longer your refrigerated food. It's all garbage.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and again, just have backup plans, man. Just keep a flashlight. And we'll probably go into an extensive specific list here, and we'll again consult experts and all that stuff. But
save a little extra money.
I call it, in drag racing, you'll go and haul butt, and you're supposed to have parachutes and all this, and they literally have what they call oh shit brakes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally just the ones you use your foot with your foot, But they have those,
You know what the parachutes have? Backup parachutes.
Yep. And it's just the likelihood that it happens is still relatively low.
Mm-hmm.
I love the meme of the likelihood of a cow killing you is really low,
But it's still there.
but it's never zero.
Don't they say that about cats?
Probably.
You and your house cat?
Probably.
Man, I'm not worried about my dogs killing me. So
My cat will think about it. All 9 pounds.
Your
of it.
cat thinks about it often. I've seen it in his eyes.
Because if I could only overcome how small my little murder mittens are.
Murder mittens. I like that.
But yeah, like I think extra food. I think also, like I said, delegate. If you're all really strapped for cash or strapped in a situation where you don't have the means to go do that, how about you be the water guy, and you let your neighbor be the food guy,
Yeah.
and you let the other guy be like the fuel guy. And you know what? I have an economy car. I really can't afford to buy a truck, but you know what I can get? I can get a generator, or I can get I can plant. I can have a garden in my backyard, or I can have a radio, and I can set up anything, because the safety nets of society are inherently really unreliable.
Oh, 100%.
It's just because someone that doesn't
imagine if the grid had actually failed.
Well, we were minutes from it. I heard we were minutes from the grid completely failing, and Texas as a whole would have been out of power for a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been an interesting time to live.
Mm-hmm.
And we still would have had to go to work.
Yep.
That would have been even more interesting.
I'd be like, so how am I going to charge this radio? How am I going to get gas? How am I going to do anything? But I would have had to, and ultimately, you know what they would have turned it back to? We will figure it out.
It would have been interesting.
And it would have been nice to have some contingency plans for that. And we had some. And in our profession, there tends to be them. But
tell you what, I'm building some more for my own life right now.
Yeah. And again, it instead of looking at this traumatic event as something that's unfortunate that happened, as much as it did suck, we look at this as an opportunity to grow. And we look at this as an opportunity to develop a better plan of action so that in the future, when this happens, if it happens, I'm ready. And even just the simple knowing that I'm ready for it is better. That's progress.
Well, also, I thought I was pretty ready for plenty of things to happen.
Yeah.
Because the power going out in the roads and all, that's every other weekend in Michigan.
Yeah.
And it being cold and, it just is what it is. But the way that it hit down here and affected so many people, my plan definitely needs to change a little bit.
And again, it's a growing thing for us. We're learning. I think everyone learned from that. Everyone kind of sat back and thought, well, got to reevaluate my priorities.
Yeah.
At the very minimum, everyone should sit there and think to myself, well, let me make sure this doesn't happen again. Let me make sure that I'm not stuck in this situation again. And I think
that's part of being prepared.
Yeah.
Not letting it happen again.
We're about to get a battery loss here.
We are
blinking at us, so we're gonna have another intermission here. Do you have backup batteries? I have backup batteries now.
I should have a couple.
We'll figure it out. Intermission time.
I was gonna say we've got to be getting close to
non-intermission time.
Non-intermission. No, it's the screen's on.
Oh, it's flipped.
Oh.
Oh. There it is.
There it is.
Okay, we're back. Hopefully for our
Technical intermission, round 2.
So,
Bring us home, Preparedness, Silva.
with all of this stuff taken into account, I think you have to have a level of self-awareness that there are certain things that you are probably not the best person to be planning.
Do you think they've caught on to the
Yeah.
self-awareness?
Yeah, so like I am not going to be the end-all be-all expert on how to look at a power grid and how to fix that, or maybe an energy crisis situation. I'm going to have to lean on some experts on that. I can take some of that power and I have batteries that I keep. I'm probably going to be buying a generator within the next year. It's going to be stuff like that, and maybe I have backup solutions to that.
Lanterns.
But, yeah, my ultimate solution for that is probably going to have to be something that I'll depend on somebody for. I don't know the first thing about growing a garden. Might fix that soon. But,
Probably get a fence first.
Yeah, should work on that. But there's things that you have to realize that you are not ready for, and you're probably going to have a harder time getting ready for. So to try to surround yourself with people that can help you with those deficiencies. One of the big ones that I think I learned about myself in the last 3-4 years, given my job, was, and this is something that can affect everybody no matter what it is violence. This is kind of the most downer thing that I can kind of get on, but violence is something that just happens. I wish there was a good explanation for it. I wish there was a good safety. In essence, is from danger, and danger isn't always Mother Nature. Danger isn't always a car accident.
Human beings are pretty dangerous.
Yeah. So I think you have to again have a level of self-awareness and realize, like, hey.
Also dangerous when they're not prepared and things start to go wrong.
Yeah. So there are bad people. I will not apologize for saying that. I have met a few. I've interacted with a few. And I realized the difference between, and anybody that's a veteran or in the law enforcement community, corrections, you name it. And the reason I specify them is because they deal with people that want to hurt them. Ask a nurse what it's like to have somebody that's combative. Your only job is to be there and to help someone, and that person is now trying to punch you in the face. And how weird that feels. And because you're not expected to do that. That's not part of your job description. It absolutely was part of our job description. They told us that up front. And again, it seemed like this odd, abstract idea until I experienced it. Mm-hmm. And when I experienced it 100-fold, I was almost annoyed more than I was afraid of what was happening. And I think a lot of people have a pretty rude awakening when that comes and finds you. And I think that part of, again, securing your finances and your structures and, all of this stuff is to ultimately, the scariest thing to prepare for is that malicious element of it, that there's people that might try to victimize you. I'll probably have a whole different video for that. I think it merits a whole other video.
Probably won't be on YouTube.
Yeah, might not be on YouTube, but...
Because we'll probably talk about some... non-YouTube approved methods for dealing with violence.
But there was the reality that we dealt with, and we have a very particular perspective on that it happens way more frequently than you think. Again, ask a Texan about the weather. And it not cooperating happens way more often than we'd like to admit. You can't predict the future. And I think you would be remiss to look at something like preparedness and not mention that, the fender bender you just got into can possibly escalate if that person decides to act ignorant, turn into a possible life or death situation. And I don't mean that to make you paranoid. I don't mean that to make you feel like you shouldn't trust people, but watch enough, 60 Minutes and watch enough crime shows and watch enough. It's like weird how often they don't run out of these stories. There's new ones that come out all the time.
It's weird that we still have a job and a need for more police officers.
Yeah. And so I think...
It's weird, huh?
That there's this really awful thing that nobody wants to talk about, and that's the victimization of each other. And that happens. It's happened since Cain and Abel. It's going to continue to happen for the foreseeable future. And that's something that you're going to want to take into account. Am I ready for this to happen? If I'm not ready, I need to put myself in a better situation to be prepared for that. Either if it's surrounding myself with people that I trust, putting some safeguards in between me and that, or ultimately preparing myself to intervene with that to do it. We call it self-rescue. And we can talk about tourniquets and all that kind of stuff. But there's also let's prevent myself from getting injured. let's prevent my loved ones from getting injured. Let's prevent this third party from getting injured. Let's really exercise, like I said, that stoic mindset. And
also,
yeah,
I think another side of that, be a little more aware of what you're doing and where you're going and who you're around. Because sometimes if you just leave a certain location, you may avoid some of that violence altogether. If you just have a little awareness of what's going on around you, and you think, maybe I won't hang out here very long.
Maybe this argument's not worth it.
Right.
Maybe this,
Maybe I don't get into an argument over a parking spot or something silly like that. Or just a little awareness of your surroundings. Like, maybe this isn't the greatest place to be at 2 a.m. when I'm drunk and left the bar. Maybe I'm making myself look like a little more of a victim than I am, and being aware enough to realize things like that is also part of being prepared. It's not just preparing yourself to engage in violence, it's also preparing to avoid it. Avoiding violence is probably the much better answer than engaging in it, especially when we have to get involved.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, that's probably going to be a whole different video, but it's something I wanted to mention in this one because I do think that there is a level of preparedness that you can have to say, 100%. Hey, if I can't avoid it, what am I going to do about it? And
or if it just shows up.
Yeah, because it can find you, in any way, shape, or form. And so I think it's food for thought, and you can educate yourself as you will, and we hope to be bringing some subject matter experts, or again, distilling a little bit of our wisdom and knowledge with our experience with it. Because we do have a very particular lens that we see that through now. And just that, yes, I'm a subject matter expert in violence because I see it a lot. And there's a lot of ways that you can avoid it. Most of this stuff, 90% of the situations I see are 100% avoidable. And then there's that little like gray area.
When we get called 90% of the time,
this could have been avoided.
Had someone had a little more self-awareness, had a little more maturity, had a little more forethought of what was going to happen.
One stoic there.
Yes.
One stoic would have fixed that problem, I don't need 5, I just need 1. And that's what we're hoping that kind of everyone gets out of this, is that, one stoic in that village can maybe make more, or can at least raise everyone's collective level of preparedness, collective level of security, and collective level of, a really better life. And that's, I don't know what more you could want out of your life, but then that is to better everyone else around you and to be known for that. I think
change the world.
Yeah, man. One stoic at a time.
One stoic at a time.
But again, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know things that you guys want to know about as far as preparedness. If you guys know anybody that's a preparedness expert, I guess preppers and the like.
Preppers, yes.
We'd love to talk to preppers. Please come out of the woodworks. We'd like to talk to you. We'd like to give an interview. Again, throughout the rest of this year, we're going to probably be adding to the Securing Your Stoa thing, whether it's interviews or product reviews, stuff like that. We're going to have some conversations about that. And then we have some other plans going down the road, some more interviews, and kind of highlighting local businesses. But please continue to do all the cool things you guys do on the internet. And till next time.
Stay stoic, bro.